Morning and welcome to Daily Focus. We're glad that you're with us again this morning, and I trust that you are off to a great start to your day. We're going to be in Proverbs chapter 15, and we're going to look at the importance of good counsel. And everybody in the world needs counselors in their life. Everyone is being influenced by somebody. And I guess before we read the text, a good question for me to ask you would simply be this: who influences you the most? If you had to just name the people who have the most significant influence in your life right now, who would they be? And we want to be able to look at the scriptures and to be able to dissect out what it is that God's Word says about counselors. And so in Proverbs chapter 15, starting in verse number 20, a wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish man despiseth his mother. Folly is joy to him that is destitute of wisdom, but a man of understanding walketh uprightly. Without counsel, purposes are disappointed, but in the multitude of counselors they are established. A man hath joy by the answer of his mouth, and a word spoken in due season, how good is it? The way of life is above to the wise, but that he may depart from hell beneath. The Lord will destroy the house of the proud, but he will establish the border of the widow. The thoughts of the wicked are an abomination to the Lord, but the words of the pure are pleasant words. It's interesting, my little humorous quote thing of the day says, if you can keep your head when all others around you are losing theirs, well, maybe you just don't understand the situation. And that's a humorous way of saying that many times when people are in a panic, when people are all, up and tight about what's going on, they're just in a tizzy about something, and you're able to work through the process with a calm head and a calm heart. They want you to be all uptight like them. They want you to be frazzled like they are. And if you can just be calm and you can just look at the facts, you can apply the principles of truth and help navigate through it with a calm heart. Many times these people who are all panicked want to justify their panic, and they want you to be panicked with them. They want you to be all in a tizzy with them. And so their answer is, you just don't understand the situation. Otherwise, you'd be all uptight. Well, the truth is that sometimes the best counselors are the ones who are separated from the issue or separated from the situation. They're kind of on the outside looking in, and they can look at the situation without all of the emotional attachment. And so I think those are the wisest counselors in those moments, is to be able to find somebody who is able to just look at it from a distance and without the personalities, without the emotion, without the personal ties to the situation, to be able to give advice for what they really see. And I think that sometimes we just need to sit back and realize that emotion is a really bad foundation or basis for decision making. And sometimes we need to really separate out our emotion from that which is true and intellectual and wise. I'm not saying that you can't be emotional. I'm just saying that I think emotion is part of how God made us. I just think it's a really bad foundation for decision making. And so being able to be influenced by somebody who can be divorced from the emotional aspect sometimes provides some really good insights for us. There's a couple of things in the text that I think is important. One, it starts right off by stating the importance of parental influence in the life of their children, specifically wise parental influence in the life of their children. And then it talks about words. It talks about how good it is to have people who can give pleasant words, who can give sweet, kind responses, someone who is able to be gracious when they're dealing with a situation. It's sometimes really difficult to navigate through someone who is so ramped up emotionally about something, whether they're angry and they want you to be angry with them, or they're ramped up emotionally and angry at you and trying to fix you and put you in your place and settle the score, or to set something right, or whatever the case may be. That's really a difficult dialogue many times. And so God says, it's important that we realize that when we're counseling or when we're being counseled, it is really important that our greatest influences are those who can be level-headed, those who can have their emotions under control, those that are able to rule their spirit. Being influenced by people who are enraged is a really bad influence. And I think we've seen that played out in America with all the protesters and all of the decisions being made in the moment of offense, or when you're outraged about something and then it leads to your next behavior. I think we need to have someone who is way more level-headed at that moment, influencing us as to what we need to do or what our options truly are. And so when you look at without counsel, purposes are disappointed. In other words, the very purpose for why God created us, the very purpose that we have in life, the place that we fit in life, the roles that we play, these things really require good counsel, because we are emotional creatures and we are going to take offense, and we tend to get angry quick, and we tend to filter everything through the filter of our own selfishness and how it affects us. And it's wise for us to be able to have some influence, some counsel from the outside guiding us in those purposes. And then it goes on to say that in the multitude of counselors, these purposes get established. I am thankful for the myriad of men that God has put around me, both in our staff and our deacons and my friends and godly men in our church, godly men who have been friends of mine throughout my ministry. I'm really thankful for my mom and dad and the influence that they have been in my life and the constant source of godly counsel. I'm thankful for my in-laws and the incredible godly counsel that I get from them. And these are just wonderful counselors as I navigate through various issues of life. So let me just give you real quick the things that you're looking for. I think that you first and foremost in any counselor want to find someone who is empowered by the Spirit of God. In other words, their life shows a life controlled by the Spirit of God. You don't want to find somebody who has a temper. You don't want to find somebody who's easily influenced by the world, who easily is deceived to jump on a bandwagon. Those are not the type of counselors you want. You really want somebody who shows you godliness. They walk with God. They obviously have a relationship with God. And the single most important thing that you're looking for when you're looking for some counselors is someone who is empowered by the Spirit of God. And then you're going to look for somebody who has some experience. In other words, when you're building a house, maybe a wonderful godly man, but he may know nothing about houses, may know nothing about building. And though you can get advice from him in the greater picture, you probably want somebody who has some experience in the building of houses. I'm thankful for the men that God has put around me who are incredibly wise in their fields of experience, whether it's finances, or whether it's building, or whether it's working with people, whether it's business models, and all of those things that they have experience and expertise in. And so I think when you're finding somebody, you want them first and foremost empowered by the Spirit of God, that have some experience with the issue that you're facing. And then, if they have some education behind them or some expertise in that area, naturally gifted, I think that's good. But I think that the next most important thing is someone who's engaged in discipleship. In other words, they have God's glory as the number one goal, your good. In other words, they don't have a selfish agenda at all. When you surround yourself with people that are counselors who are empowered by the Spirit of God, they have some experience in that realm of issue that you're facing, but they're most engaged in your good. Those are the people that will be beneficial, and they'll be helpful to you, whatever the issue is that you're facing. It's most important that they are able to look at it being apart from the emotional attachment, but they're able to just look logically at it. And so I think when you get all of those things, whether you're the counselor or you're being counseled, God says, listen, it's very important for us to have counsel, but be very careful as to who is influencing our decisions. I hope you have a great day. I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.